Hello everyone. This is Omar. What's up? How you doing? Another day, another show. Welcome to the show. This is Omar. I want to thank you very much for being a subscriber to the channel, and I thank you very much. We try to get better. I mean, I do everything by myself. Anyway, today we have a good show, as you can see from the title, from Charlie Kirk and the War on the Whites. Let me do my intro first, and I'll be right back. I like this intro. Here we go. So the problem is we're gonna talk today about something very important that happened in East Palestine, Ohio, where a train derailed and a lot of chemical was seeped out, and nobody said anything for 10 days, which was wrong, absolutely wrong and dangerous. That the train was 2 mile long. It was 140 cars or 150 cars. Unbelievable. It's almost like a whole highway, because they want to save money, and was carrying a lot of dangerous chemicals that I can't even pronounce. Let me show you what happened. Let's first get an idea. Let me start from the beginning. Okay. The chemical they were carrying, some of them were frozen, because if they're exposed to regular environmental weather, or like a regular weather, they will explode more. So they blew them up on purpose. But they are very dangerous. When I was reading about these weapons, some of these chemicals were used in World War One. In wars, these are chemical weapons. These are weapons. These are chemical weapons. Yeah, and they're very dangerous. What they did. But the whole idea that the show is about is, it has nothing to do with a war on white people or the hatred. It was just by coincidence. It happened to the train happens to derail in believe it or not, a town called East Palestine. It's about 4,800 people, about 32 business. It's a small town, but let's just finish this. Yeah. It's almost like a nuclear weapon. Holy, unbelievable. That's dangerous stuff, man. And I don't believe the government. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't believe the government when they say it's safe to go back home. We saw what happened to 9/11 with those firefighters, and it was a building. And I don't know how people died from cancer, and it's a building. Imagine these are chemicals that are dangerous. And I don't know why they're carrying these chemicals through towns and villages and cities in mid-America, wherever they are. It's an issue the EPA has to deal with. Now, I just wanted to show you how dangerous it looked. It was like a nuclear weapon that blew up there. And this happened, I think, on February 2nd, and people just started talking about it about 2 weeks later when journalists got arrested for talking about it. They arrested a journalist during a conference because they said he was trying to scare the people. All right, there we go. So we want to continue on this. My issue here is that why did I do this segment? The problem is you have people who peddle in lies. Charlie Kirk is a merchant of white grievances, white fear. He doesn't have anything to answer. Let me show you what I saw in the Young Turks so we could answer him and see what's going on. Give me 1 second, people. Slow. All my slow. There you go. Okay. There he is. This is cock-faced Charlie Kirk. Look what he's saying, how dangerous the things he's saying. Very, very dangerous stuff he's talking about. Irresponsible stuff he's saying.
Why would you care for the white working class voters in Eastern Ohio? You haven't cared about them in other reasons or other portions, and I will prove it to you. If this train derailment happened in downtown Atlanta, in the densely populated black neighborhoods, this would be the #1 news story. It would be Flint Water Crisis 2.0. There would be clamoring and activism and talks for reparations. And Buttigieg, meanwhile, is out there saying, listen, while this derailment is happening, while the act of poisoning is happening, he's saying, look, the problem is that workers are too white.
Okay. As you can see, I got this from the Young Turk. I hope they don't get upset. #1 fan. Okay. That is called bullshit. Now, why would you turn a disaster into a white and black issue? Why does it have to be always an identity issue? Why does it have to be always them blacks, them whites? Why do we have to turn things into white and black into tribalism in this country? Charlie Kirk, cock-nosed or cock-eyed, Charlie Kirk is nothing but a piece of shit. He doesn't offer anything for his listeners. That is a piece of shit. He could have better information. If you want to know who are the enemy of the white working class is, it's the Republican Party, who signed on to NATO, sent all those jobs to Mexico under Clinton, who the World Trade Organization, where they send China or this company, they send to China. I hope the mic is working. I don't feel like it's working. Give me a second, man. Give me a second. I really, really got me upset when I heard that. I just had to respond to this piece of shit. Cold. And the problem is, it's not just him. Here.
East Palestine is overwhelmingly white, and it's politically conservative. More than 70% of the voters in the surrounding county supported Donald Trump in the last election. That shouldn't be relevant, but as you're about to hear, it very much is.
I don't know why.
11 days ago, a 150-car train derailed in East Palestine, and when it did, it spewed poisonous chemicals onto the ground and into the surface waters. After the crash, the Ohio State EPA found evidence of butyl acrylate in the Ohio River, as well as in the creeks and streams that feed it. Now, this was a concern for more than simply East Palestine, given that the Ohio River supplies drinking water to about a tenth of the entire U.S. population. So this train derailment was an environmental disaster. Not an environmental disaster like climate change is, but an actual environmental disaster.
So you saw that another piece of shit who lies to the white American people. What did it have to do with white people? Did he answer this question? He started the segment by saying, "Oh, it's because of his white, and it's not supposed to be about it, but it is." Did he give you any answer? Did the train purposely derail in a white town? I'm sure that the train has been passing through towns and villages throughout the United States to unload its load. The issue here is deregulation, and it's Donald Trump who deregulated the trains and all that stuff and loosened the laws and the safeties. They had to change a lot of brakes and things of that nature for these trains. You could look it up. Now, we don't want to get into the blame game. We don't want to get into the blame game. The problem here, the issue here is not the enemies of the white people is not the train. It's not the goddamn train. Huh? It's poverty. It's poverty and issues that they need to be answered. Stop using white people as fucking fodder, using racial undertones. This has nothing to do with racism. If you look at it, poverty affects people from all walks of life, backgrounds, and it's a prevalent issue in many countries worldwide. But in the United States, the poverty rate among white Americans by state and city, according to the data, is about 9%. The states with the highest poverty are West Virginia has the highest poverty whites in the nation among white Americans in the U.S. with a poverty rate of about what? Almost 20%. Mississippi has the second highest poverty rate among white Americans in the U.S. with a poverty rate of about 15%. Kentucky has the third highest poverty rate among white Americans in the U.S. and a poverty rate of about 13%. This is from 2019. I'm reading from you or giving you this answer or what I looked it up. Arkansas has the fourth highest poverty rate among white Americans in the U.S. with a poverty rate of 13%. Alabama has the fifth highest rate amongst white poverty in the United States with about 12%. The cities, you want to know what the cities are? Detroit, Michigan has a poverty rate among whites. About 28% of whites in Detroit, Michigan are poor. In Memphis, Tennessee, 27% who live in that city who are white are poor. St. Louis, Missouri, 25% throughout the whole United States. And the whole problem, I've been saying this over and over again every time in interviews, the enemy of whites are whites themselves. Did you notice these cities and states? These are red states. These are Republican-held states and almost cities. People during election, especially whites, I'm sorry to say that, will go every time to vote against their own economic interests. They will vote their fucking color every single time because they will be tricked every single time by a Republican Party that sells them fucking snake oil. CRT. They're teaching their children CRT, critical race theory. Oh, I don't want to be told by girl. And they go vote against their own. Willie Horton. The LGBT community, they're trying to make the frogs gay. You have to address the whole issue. People like Charlie Kirk and Tucker Carlson are nothing but fire starters. They want to start a fire in the United States. They are not serving well. They're giving real information to people, especially white American. They're not addressing the real issues. The whole issue is wokeness. The Democrats are bad, Republicans are good, but I already all these cities and states where poverty is prevalent in these cities and states it's in forgot to do this. It's in Republican-led states. Yeah, that looks a little better. Sorry, but so why are white Americans in these states and cities disproportionately affected by poverty? I'll tell you, it's very simple. There are several why white Americans in these states are cities are disproportionately affected by poverty. One of the main reason is a lack of access to quality education. All these states are lacking in education and job opportunities. Many of these states and other cities have lower levels of education and lower job opportunities. They won't even give them the fucking minimum wage. The $15 minimum wage is not going to benefit somebody in New York because New Yorkers get $20, $25. If you go to work in a grocery store, my state, if you go to work in a grocery store in New York State or McDonald's, it's almost $20, $25 an hour because the cost of living is high over here. But if you made the minimum wage $15, you know how much it would lift people up in West Virginia and the Appalachia region in Alabama, in Memphis, Tennessee, in St. Louis, Missouri, all these states and cities that have all these poor white people who are being disparaged and preyed upon by politicians using white grievances, white demographic fears as a tool to get them to vote for against the economic issues. That is very simple, my friends. Because how could they be a white against white people, a war against white people? The governor is white. The president is white. Everybody's white. The whole country, people, maybe 80% of America's politicians are white, or 85%. 87% of America's household wealth is in white household hands. The issue here is not black and white. The issue here is failure of leadership by political parties that have become corrupt. Democrats and Republicans, they're both the same fucking evil piece of shit. Both parties have become just investigating each other, creating these dumb investigations, 3-4 years. Nothing comes out of these investigations. And they forgot to serve the people. They went to Washington too. And the problem is, at least the Democrats are pretending to be, for something. I mean, they're already, they're helping. They try to raise the minimum wage. They are universal health care. During Trump's presidency, he was trying to get rid of what's called Obamacare or the affordable health care. You know who uses that? The majority are whites. And white people, yes, repeal and replace, repeal and replace, repeal. These fucking idiots didn't even know that is their fucking health insurance that they need for their children. You need to wake up, guys. Here you go. This is the governor of Ohio.
In your news conference yesterday, you said you had spoken to President Biden a few days earlier, and the president offered federal assistance, said don't hesitate to call. You said yesterday that you have not done so, that you don't feel like there's a need that you have, I'll quote you here, if we were seeing a problem or anything like that, you would call, but you said you're not seeing it. Explain the rationale there. Why not get the federal government more involved in what is a significant site?
No, that's not what I said. What I said yesterday is that I told the
He's lying. He said yesterday that they offered help, and he said he didn't need it right there. Now today, when the shit hit the fan, now he's coming with a different story. Though I like this governor, but I think he should be honest with the people of Ohio.
president that the federal government was involved. We had used the Defense Department to model. Our National Guard was working directly with the Defense Department to model where, when the controlled emission was going to take place, how far out that was going to do. The U.S. EPA has been on the scene from the very beginning. The transportation people are in there working to determine exactly the cause of this wreck. So, no, what I said to the president is, if I need additional help, we'll tell you, but the people who have been in here from the federal government are doing a very good job.
There you have it. So you can't blame Biden. He's helping them. He sent a lot of help. He was refused the first time to help. He didn't refuse. They said they didn't need it at the time. Let's be fair for both sides. But the whole issue is, my problem is with Tucker Carlson. He'll just come on. He has 3 million viewers a night, and he'll just come out with this bullshit. Look.
East Palestine is overwhelmingly white, and it's politically conservative. More than 70% of the voters in the...
What does that mean? What does it mean that the train picked that neighborhood to blow up? What do you mean, Tucker? What does that mean? Well, it's predominantly white and conservative, and they all voted for Trump. So was that a terrorist attack? Are you trying to say that I was picked on purpose to blow up the train right in that town of 4,800 people?
Surrounding county supported Donald Trump in the last election.
All right.
That shouldn't be relevant, but as you're about to hear, it very much
Okay, he said we're about to hear that is relevant. Let's see what the relevancy is.
11 days ago, a 150-car train derailed in East Palestine, and when it did, it spewed poisonous chemicals.
You're not supposed to have 140 train, 140, 150 cars in one train. They did that because they deregulated that, and they need to hire more people. Remember, they had to strike, and because the people wanted to take a rest, people were tired. They wanted to take 6 days. They wanted to hire more people. They didn't do it. But let's finish Tucker Carlson's lie. Let's chase him to his lie.
Onto the ground and into the surface waters.
All right.
After the crash, the Ohio State EPA found evidence of butyl acrylate in the Ohio River, as well as in the creeks and streams that feed it.
All right.
Now, this was a concern for more than simply East Palestine, given that the Ohio River supplies drinking water to about 1/10 of the entire U.S. population.
All right.
So this train derailment was an environmental disaster. Okay. Not an environmental disaster, like climate change is, but an actual environmental disaster.
See, he got into it being an asshole. It's not a climate disaster. All right, what is it? What's the relevancy that, because he said that this town was white and conservative and they voted for Trump. Let's see. You haven't answered that question, Voss.
East Palestine is overwhelmingly white, and it's politically conservative. More than 70% of the voters in the surrounding county supported Donald Trump in the last election.
All right, go fuck yourself. You know, this is stupid, man. We're going to go through this shit every time, man. These people, they're merchants of fucking evil, or they're trying to do something crazy, or they're trying to start a fucking war, or race war. These are the followers of Charlie Manson. What's that? Charlie Manson? That crazy guy in the 60s? These are his children. They are trying to create this environment of hatred, of people hating each other, that because you're white and I'm black, or they're Arab. It's not, we're all Americans at the end of the day. There's a blame to blame. You cannot, it's not a war on white, but you have to blame the government for safety lacks. People need to be held responsible. Monetary reimbursement should be given. People should go to jail because people are going to die from this. Don't believe this. People are going to die from cancer or breathing issue and physio or whatever the diseases are. They're going to get sick 10, 20 years from now. This is the problem. So the issue with white Americans, if you want to know what the war on white American is poverty. That's the war. You need to give them access to real education, real transportation, real economic income, living wages. That's the war on white America, if you want to know the truth. Hospitals, you go to urban areas, not urban, you go to rural areas, they have no hospitals. Some states like Georgia, they have this free money from the federal government under the Obama or the Affordable Care. They haven't taken that money. It's sitting right there like billions of dollars while hospitals in rural areas are closing down. If you had a heart attack in some rural areas in Georgia, it takes you 2 hours to get to a fucking hospital because most of those hospitals depended on Medicaid money. Because people used to have Medicaid, they go sick and the government pays them. You know, it's a subsidized. They subsidize these hospitals to help these people. So that creates unhealthy unhealthy population. We're bound to get sick and die early. That's the war on white America. The war on white America is politicians who lie to you every single time. The war on white America is a party that serves the rich in corporate America. The war on white America is that they're not getting a living wage, man. $15 an hour. Is that too much to ask? The Republican Party even voted against a cap on insulin. People are fucking dying in Tennessee and all these states because they can't afford insulin because they cannot qualify for insurance. Why? All the Republican Party voted 174 in the last voted against it to cap it at $35 a month. It costs $2 or $3 for a company to make a month's worth of insulin. $35 is a lot of money in profit. Instead of charging $1,000 in some areas. That's the problem. The poverty among white America in states and cities across the U.S. is a complex issue that requires a comprehensive approach. Addressing poverty, like I said, in these areas will require a combination of education and top training program. You have to train people. The factories closed and they left America. They left the heartland, and people just stayed home and they're drinking themselves to death while their children are dying of the opiate crisis. The war on white people is the opiate crisis that was done by corporate America, the Sackler families and Purdue Pharma that introduced opiate into Kentucky, West Virginia, to these states because they say people work with their hands, so they need this medication. And got a whole generation addicted. 1 million died. The opiate crisis is so bad that for the first time in history, the census, white Americans decreased as a race. They did not multiply. When you have 142,000 people die a year of opiate crisis between the age of 17 and 45, that's the fucking generation you need to stay alive. 80% are white. That's the war on white America, not some fucking bullshit train that blew up. Oh, because in Atlanta, if it was black people, what the fuck does black people have to do with that, man? Charlie Kirk, man, what are you doing? Why everything always has to be white and black, man? I was watching this channel this morning. It was about black apps, how black people have their own apps. They're allowed to date each other, but white people are not allowed to have their own apps. People make decisions. You could be in Tinder. You could pick whatever you want. Does that make sense to you? It doesn't, man. Anyway, I was really upset at that, really. Really, really upset to hear that and to hear this divisive bullshit and conversation. Anyway, until we meet next time, this is Omar. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much. God bless.